What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or if this is your first video, thanks for giving me a shot. Now, because I do so much stuff here in a Harley Davidson dealership, and I also have a lot of sales experience in Harley Davidson dealerships, I'm always getting the question, hey man, how do I get the best deal when I'm buying a Harley Davidson? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So I get this question a lot. How do I get the best deal on a Harley Davidson? Hey, can you help me get a good deal on a Harley Davidson? Now that's a very loaded question. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So I've kind of broken it down into things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do, and things to consider when looking to buy a bike and you're trying to get a good deal. So we're going to start off with something not to do when shopping for the best deal. Now, when I was in sales, I would get these calls frequently. Phone rings, pick it up. Hey man, what's your absolute best deal on, say, the new Street Glide special? Now, I don't have their name, for one, which is just kind of rude. But two, I don't know what color you want. And as most of you guys know, color makes a big deal. Black is always the cheapest. There's two-tone colors. There's custom colors. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into this. Do you want the black one? Do you want the chrome one? So they skip over all these details and ask, what's the absolute best out-the-door price you can do on that bike?
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
Now, I'll be honest with you guys, especially at the time of recording this video, Harley dealerships aren't sitting on a surplus of bikes right now. They're not having a hard time moving inventory. Go into your local Harley dealership and look around and compare to how it used to look, say 2 years ago. The showroom was flooded with bikes. They had multiples of every color. I don't think I've seen two of the same bike sitting on the floor here at Timms, or if I have, it's only happened once or twice. There's not a lot of bikes out there. So because of that, any deals that are to be had are going to go to former customers, or at the very least, they're going to go to people that come in the dealership, sit down, give you their name, and you guys can kind of sit down and talk about their needs, because at the end of the day, a good deal on the wrong bike is still a bad deal. We see it happen all the time. They just make up their mind that this is the bike that I want, based on other people's opinions, usually from the internet, sometimes from YouTube. They get their heart set on this bike that they've never ridden, never have any experience with. Don't sit down and talk to a salesperson or a fit specialist, as they're usually called, to figure out what bike would actually fit them best. And I've done it myself a ton of times. I've tried to tell someone, hey, I really think this is the bike you're going to want. And in most cases, I could reassure them that I don't make more money, I don't make more commission on selling you this bike. I just think this is going to be a better fit for you. And sometimes it would be in as little as a day. Other times it would be a week, a month. They would come back and say, hey man, I'd like to ride that other bike and see, because I think you might have been right. And now we're really working at a disadvantage, because I have to try to get you out of the first bike that you never should have bought to try to get you onto the bike that you should have bought. Also, if you do insist on being that price shopper, do it in person, if nothing else, but for the simple fact of making sure that you're comparing apples to apples. And what I mean is, a lot of times when I was in sales, another dealership may have beat my bike price by, say, $500. But our interest rate that we were going to give them was several points better, which over the course of the loan equals way more than $500. So when you sit down and kind of break everything down into line items, you're able to see that I actually had the better deal, but because they're showing you a better sticker price, you may end up going with them. Same thing if you've got a trade, they may show you less on your trade, which makes their bike price look more attractive because they can take a little off of that end, and you feel like, well, I'm getting a better deal here. You would be surprised at how many people don't sit down and do the simple math and say, well, this dealership's giving me this for my trade, and I'm paying this for the new bike, and this dealership's doing this. They get so fixated on that one number, and sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's they're giving me more for my trade, but we're selling you the bike for a cheaper price. So if you insist on price shopping, go in, do it in person, and make sure you're super thorough about how you're comparing the deal that each dealership has put together. Now, while we're talking about trade-ins, let's go over that really quickly. So let's say, hypothetically, you do have a trade-in. Obviously, you've got two options: trade the bike in or sell the bike yourself. Now, just to cut to the chase, you're almost always going to get more money if you sell that bike yourself. However, let's talk about some things that most people don't think about when doing that. The first thing being, again, as of right now, at the time of recording this video, dealerships need inventory. They don't have a lot of inventory. Specifically at Timms here, they were buying bikes. People weren't even trading in. They were just buying their bikes outright to have inventory. Right now, trade numbers are pretty strong. That's one good thing to keep in mind. The next question is, how quickly do you need the money? A lot of times I would see that the customer would need to sell the bike instantly to make the deal happen, or if nothing else, if they were financing the new bike, they may just need to get that old bike off of their credit to get approved for the new bike. The reason I bring that up is because you don't know how long it's going to take to sell your bike. Selling it yourself also means you're usually doing a cash transaction, and right now we live in a society where a lot of people either need to or would rather finance the bike, just make monthly payments instead of putting out a bunch of cash at one time, which does limit the buying pool that you have for your current motorcycle. Now the next thing, and this is a big one for me, is I never wanted people to come to my house. I don't want strangers at my house. I don't want people knowing where I keep the bike. So with that, you're going to need to schedule a time and a place to meet your buyer. You also need to take a friend. For one, it's just a little safer. For two, if they do end up buying your bike, you're going to be walking home if you don't bring a ride with you. And then the last thing I'll say on selling your bike yourself is make it completely clear. Get something in writing letting them know that they are buying the bike as is, because the last thing you want is them to have buyer's remorse and try to bring it back, or come back later and say, well, it's making some kind of noise, or say, hey, I didn't notice this little scratch down here when I originally looked at it. You just don't want them bugging you about a deal that's already done. Now, I do want to address, just because I know I'm going to get comments, I always do, saying, of course this guy is going to try to push you into trading in your bike. He works for a dealership. The dealerships want to lowball you on your trade so they can make money. I want to make this super, super clear. Although I do work for Timms Harley Davidson, I don't benefit financially from any transactions that transpire here. So I'm not incentivized to sway you guys one way or the other. Timms has never asked me to say anything or not say anything. They give me complete creative freedom when it comes to this channel and the things that I say, and I think that's why this channel's been a success, is because I can be completely transparent with you guys. All I'm doing is sharing information that I have gathered within my time here at the dealership. Okay, so we've already talked about something not to do. Let's talk about the most important thing that you should do, and that's go into the dealership with a positive attitude. I know a lot of people, especially with guys, when they're buying any vehicle, they kind of go into it with the mindset of it's them versus the salesman, and the only way to get a good deal is to beat that salesman. That's not the way that it should be, and if you're at a dealership and that's how it starts to feel, you should leave, because you're at the wrong dealership. The right salesman is going to want to be on your side, is going to want to make you happy, because that translates to much more business for them. Meaning, when you're ready to trade that bike in, or get a second bike, or get a new bike, or buy your wife a bike, or whatever the case is, they're going to come to you because you've satisfied their needs once before. They're also going to refer all their friends and family to you based on their experience. So yeah, there's going to be salesmen out there that are going to try to get everything they can out of you. That's not a good strategy for them. I would much rather help you be happy with the deal that you got on your bike, so you send me 5 more people and I sell 5 more motorcycles, than make you angry and I have to search and scrounge for more referrals and more customers. Now, before I wrap this video up, I want to talk to you about what I think is personally the most important thing when looking for a good deal on a bike. Now, this may sound a little cliche, but if you're a true Harley enthusiast, you're going to understand this. There is nothing more valuable when it comes to the motorcycle world than having a good working relationship with your dealership. I'm here all the time. I see it all the time. There's certain customers that only want a certain technician to touch their bike. That's because since day one, since they bought their bike, it may have 70,000 miles on it now. That's who's worked on it. So that technician knows that person, knows their riding style, knows what they're going to be doing on it, knows what's been done to the bike because they did the work, knows the maintenance history, knows all that stuff. That's invaluable. I also see it in all of the other departments here. We have people call the parts department and they ask for certain representatives just because that's who they're used to dealing with, that's who they're used to talking to, that's who they trust, that's who they know. Now, I do want to take a second to speak on something that I've seen firsthand being here in the Timms Harley Davidson dealership, and that's that I see them put money back into their own community. I see some of the staff here are coaches for youth sports. I see them do benefits all the time for people within the community that need help with medical bills or whatever's going on in their life. And I see the personal relationships that all the staff members have built with current and former customers. Now, speaking on myself personally, I know for me, whether I'm buying a truck, a motorcycle, a watch, a knife, whatever, having that personal touch, having that personal connection with the place that I'm buying something from, where they know me and kind of know what I'm looking for, that goes a long way. So I would encourage you guys to remember that, because to me that's equally, if not more important than getting the absolute best possible price on the motorcycle that I'm looking to buy. I really hope this helped. If it did, please give the video a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing if you're not already. And thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.